It's Barbara Schwartz. Welcome to our Monday night Facebook Live. Um, we are here to answer your questions, tell you more about the program, and keep you on that path to health. So that's what this is all about, right? Feeling great, looking great, and most importantly, getting healthy. Hey, Doc Abby, it's nice to see you. I have to say thank you, and I want to ask a favor. I saw on the secret group you posted a wonderful looking photograph of a recipe. I'm hoping that you will share that. So it's something, I'm not sure if it was one of our recipes or something you just created, but it looked phenomenal. And I'd love to be able to share that as a recipe of the week. Excuse me. Oops. I am a little dehydrated. I apologize. Didn't have my electrolytes with me. A little dehydrated, and I will take care of that as soon as we are done this evening. There was a lot of activity, and I want to say happy birthday to my mom. We were celebrating her birthday with her, and so I had some nice family time. But I have been off our secret group, so I do apologize to so many of you who've had a lot of questions. So I spent an hour now trying to catch up with all of you. There's lots of great activity. So if you are an active client or someone on stabilization or maintenance, remember our wonderful Facebook secret group is a great place for support, of sharing recipes, asking questions, getting the support you need. It's a wonderful, wonderful group of people. And it's getting really active again, which I always love now that the holidays have passed and people are getting into the groove again. So it's a lot of fun. So I was picking up some of the questions that were asked there this week. And if somebody has a question on the group, most typically other people who are not on the group have those questions too. So I thought I'd cover some of those this evening and anything else that comes up along our way. So one of the questions, and I thought it was a good one, is actually, they're all good questions, right? Was asking about apple chips. Are apple chips allowed? And the answer is, in general, yes. All of our dehydrated fruits that are these new apple chips, I've seen strawberry, I've seen banana, pear, they're all allowed as long as the ingredient list is quote unquote clean. So you want to make sure you don't have all the added preservatives. There's not added sugar. In this case, the one posted just said Fuji apples. So the answer is absolutely yes. The key is also keep an eye on your serving size. The bag that somebody posted on the secret group specifically said this is the equivalent of half a cup of apple. We know we're allowed 2 cups of fruit on a fruit and vegetable day, and that specifically said this one bag is half a cup of apples. So that tells you right there what your serving size is. When in doubt, if you have a bag of, let's say, apple chips or banana chips, and you're trying to figure out what is an allotment, you can always use the equivalent of looking online at calories. So even though we're not counting calories, it's a good way to find an equivalent. So for example, if you look up how many calories are in a banana, and then you look how many calories are in your dehydrated banana, you're going to find out how much is a serving size. So it's a good way to use that as a gauge. And again, the team is always here to help. So when in doubt, send us a picture of the brand and the nutritional label, which includes the ingredient list. We're always happy to review products for you. There's so many brands out there. In general, we don't typically point somebody to a brand unless it's something new or it's unique. But something like apple chips, there are a lot of different brands out there, and depending where you live, might be totally different brands than where I live. So, seeing the nutritional label and seeing ingredient list is really what helps us to help you. So always remember to include that when you're sending something for us to review. Somebody also asked about cassava chips. Cassava is a very starchy vegetable, so that is not allowed while on the program. So no cassava. So it falls into that same family of chips, but we're, again, nothing in that kind of potato family, and the cassava has very similar properties. So that one is a no. Other questions on products was, can we use coconut aminos? I think most of you at this point know about the Bragg's liquid aminos, which is a great alternative to soy sauce. I have not tried coconut aminos personally, but a lot of people are loving it. And the answer is yes, you may use coconut aminos, and you're limited to 3 tablespoons on a veggie day. So do enjoy, whereas the Bragg's liquid aminos is an unlimited. The coconut does have some restrictions, but I don't know anybody who's looking to use more than 3 tablespoons. So enjoy that, which is great. Other important question for us to talk about is alternative milks. Again, most people are using dairy, and again, it's whole milk and whole milk yogurt. Remember, we're using the core ingredients of basically a baby's diet. We're not eating a baby's diet, we're not eating baby food, but we're using the core ingredients because of the health benefits. Remember, just by temporarily changing our diet so that our core ingredients are whole milk yogurt, fruits and vegetables, just by this temporary change, we're altering the chemistry in our body to bring it back to natural digestion, essentially to that of a 10-month-old, and all the health properties that come with that. We're naturally, just by temporarily changing the food we're bringing in, we're naturally alkalizing our digestive system. We're resetting it back to infancy, toddlerhood. That is also naturally rebalancing our blood sugars, and it's naturally cleaning out our intestine. I mean, think about, you hear people going for colonics, right? How many people are detoxing or taking laxatives and things to clean out their intestines, and what an unpleasant thing to do. This just naturally, over time, by the 2 dairy days, we're actually giving our large intestine 2 days off. How great. And everything we're eating on fruit and vegetable days is natural fiber. So over time, just by putting all that natural fiber in, but also giving the intestine 2 days off, we're just giving it a natural cleanse. It does not have a laxative effect, but over time, we're giving it a natural cleanse, and that's really healthy. The one place that we can reabsorb water when we're dehydrated is from our bowel, is from our large intestine. So if we're building up toxins around the edges, and now we're reabsorbing water from the bowel, now we're reabsorbing water that's, tainted with some of the toxins that are still contained in our body. So we're not really poisoning ourselves, but we are increasing our own toxicity levels, and that's really, not a pleasant thought. So what a great way to clean out the intestine naturally and reset our whole digestive system. Again, remember the diet part, that's temporary. Then we go on to normal living, sensibly, but we go back to regular normal lifestyle eating. So the temporary change is a really healthy one, and with this wonderful byproduct of losing body fat. So it's a win-win-win-win. But with that, there are people who cannot tolerate dairy or are vegan and don't use dairy. And there are dairy alternatives. And so what came up in conversation on the secret group was whether or not, what kinds of things, and does it slow down the weight loss? So the answer is absolutely. You can use their dairy alternatives. It's not a problem. Our favorite, which is really recent, there are a few brands, is from pea protein. That would be PEA. Again, there's Ripple milk, and Silk now has also plant protein milk. So we've got several options there, which is really terrific. All of these new pea protein milks don't require any supplementation. They've got all the protein and all the healthy fat that we need. The one thing they're missing is CLA. That's conjugated linoleic acid. It's a natural it's naturally found in cow's milk, and it's been shown to target belly fat. And obviously, what do so many of us want to lose? We want to lose that belly fat, get that nice hourglass figure, right, for women. So it is recommended that if you're using an alternative milk, that you do take a CLA supplement, and it is something you can buy over the counter, and you would follow the instructions on the bottle of the brand that you purchase. We do have other alternatives. You can still use soy milk, hemp milk, or almond milk as well. But all of those do require some level of supplementation. So if you are considering an alternative milk and you are using anything other than the pea protein milks, the plant-based milks, using hemp, soy, or almond milk, make sure you talk to a consultant and find out what kind of supplementation is required for proper nutrition. Remember, this is all about nutrition and keeping ourselves healthy and getting what we need so there's no physiologic starvation mode and we burn fat and nothing else. So that's what this is about. So again, yes, we can use the alternative milks. And the other thing is the young lady who posted it asking about the alternative milk, she was posting the chocolate milk, and that is okay. Lactose is naturally occurring sugars in milk, right? So that is naturally occurring. So there is sugar, natural sugar content in milk. But when we start to get into the flavored alternative milks, often there's a lot more added sugar. So although they're allowed, they can slightly slow down our weight loss, because how does this work? We're living off the sugar in our fat cells. So if we're adding sugar here, it's going to come off more slowly here. So I do recommend, you don't necessarily need the unsweetened, but I would get the plain and then flavor it yourself from there. Again, lactose is milk sugar, so you don't have to get the sugar-free or unsweetened version of your alternative milks, but I do recommend getting the plain and then flavoring it yourself, because that gives you the control over the sugar content. I should also mention goat milk. Goat milk is allowed. I think I mentioned last week that I now have, and we will publish shortly, a goat cheese recipe that we are making from goat milk. And goat milk has the same nutrition as cow's milk, but for people who are lactose intolerant or sensitive to dairy, a lot of people can actually more easily digest goat milk. And I should mention also for kefir, which is fermented, that also is gentler on the digestion in terms of lactose intolerance, because of the fermentation. All the extra natural bacteria do help for digestion. So kefir is also a great alternative. And that's been coming up a lot recently too. A lot of people are getting into the kefir. So the answer is absolutely yes. Somebody mentioned, and it's come up a lot, you know, I'm busy all day, I've been working, I planned to eat, but I didn't get around to it. Now it's 6 o'clock, and either I didn't eat at all, or I just didn't get to all of my food. What do I do? So there's several answers. There's no one answer, there's several answers here. Number one is, if you're not really bothered, or as long as you've had something earlier in the day and you just didn't finish your food, you can be done for the day. Just make sure to keep hydrated, and there's always tomorrow. So, you know, again, drink plenty of fluids. If you want, have some of our anytime treats, but it is okay to stop. One day isn't going to harm you. But similarly, if it's just hit 6 o'clock and you haven't eaten at all, or you do feel like you really need your nutrients, you're feeling hungry, you just didn't have time because your day didn't afford you some time to eat, one day eating late isn't going to hurt you. If you need to eat, do it without guilt. You know, wolfing it down isn't going to serve you. Take your time, eat properly. You know, wrap it up as quickly as you can. You don't want to get, you know, into 10 o'clock at night, ideally. But look, if it's 6 o'clock, if it's 6:15, once or twice is not going to hurt you. You don't want to get into a habit of always eating after 6. Remember, we're using the acupressure the balanced nutrition, right? Our 4-day food cycle of 2 days fruits and veggies, 2 days milk and yogurt, but also very importantly, our hours of noon to 6. Those three things together, the acupressure, the foods that we're eating, and the times that we're eating, that combination is how we're tricking your brain to not understand that we took calories away. Because if you think about it, there's only 500 to 600 calories within the program. And that on its own, obviously you'd be losing weight, but after a week to 2 weeks, your brain is going to recognize that calorie reduction. It's going to seriously slow your metabolism, and your body will start to cannibalize itself. Again, it's going to go into physiologic starvation mode. By using the acupressure, our noon to 6 time frame, and the balanced nutrition, again, no ketosis, this is a nutritionally balanced diet. Those three things together we're using to trick your brain. There's no physiologic starvation mode, and you're getting all your energy from your fat cells, from the sugar stored there. So again, going to, oh, I didn't get to all my food. Remember, to your brain, your body's got fuel all day long because we're burning the sugar in your fat cells. The food is for nutrition. Just like, sometimes you just get busy when you're not in a weight loss mode, or for religious reasons, maybe you fast for a day, or you just have a liquid day for whatever reason. Again, separate from AccuWeight, you've always survived. You've been fine. So again, even nutritionally for one day, if you didn't get everything in, that's okay. And remember, all of the serving sizes are an up to. When your body says you've had enough, you're done. So you're never going to force feed yourself. You're going to eat until you're reasonably satisfied, and you're done. So that's okay too. But keep in mind, those hours of eating, noon to 6, they are important. But again, one time late isn't going to hurt you, okay? So it is okay if you're in a situation to make the decision one time. To go a little later is not going to cause a problem. Hopefully that helps put your mind at ease when you're put in that situation, and it gives you a few different options. Let's see, seasonings. All spices and seasonings, including salt, are a mega yes. Absolutely, let's keep it interesting. In general, anything that comes in like kind of a shaker that's 0 to 5 calories is allowed 24 hours a day. So enjoy. We haven't come across any yet that are not okay. So enjoy. But when in doubt, always feel free to ask. No such thing as a stupid question. We're here to help. So again, open book on this end. Let's see. Somebody said, I found beads. Can I guess that I've used before. Can I reuse them? And I guess this is for people who are doing the AccuWeight Online at Home program. So the answer is yes, you can reuse beads. But I want to clarify a few things, because also we have some clients who've said, oh, I found beads. I must have a week left. Can you calculate my new point? So just to clarify, we often ship extra supplies for people doing it online because somebody will have a bead fall off, they'll have their hair colored, where they didn't, somebody's putting it on for them at home and they didn't put it on quite right. So there are spare beads there just in case. We also have situations where somebody goes, I forgot to replace my reorder and it's time, I need my bead change, and I made payment online, but I don't have time for my supplies to get here through the mail. Well, by us putting an extra pair of beads into your shipment, you're all set for next month, or even to start your stabilization plan where you do need one set of beads, can save you on shipping. So we do typically include some spare supplies, and a spare set of supplies doesn't necessarily mean that you've got time left on your plan. So I do want to specify that, like, when you're on the plan, the beads, your placements, the support from us, all of our services, they're all part of what you are purchasing. But, again, a 4-week plan is 4 AccuPoints. You might have 5 sets of beads, but it doesn't change that your plan is 4 AccuPoints. if, again, you're in a situation where you needed to reorder and you forgot, beads themselves never go dull. The beads are always the same, and the beads will always work. We have you change them because the tape is just not very hygienic after a whole week of wearing them, using them, showering, possibly exercising. And again, we care about your hygiene. But in a pinch, if a bead fell off, or again, it's time to change to your next acupoint and you forgot to order supplies and you're out, you can move the beads that you're wearing to a new location. The key is just using a fresh Band-Aid. I mean, what's included in the packages is Band-Aid brand flexible fabric Band-Aids. We found those to be the best adhesive. And they're just trimmed to fit on your head behind your ear. So do feel free, if you're in a pinch, to reuse beads. The key is always get the correct acupoint. Remember, the 12 acupoints are the same on everybody's head. They're all the same. They run from the top to the bottom. What's unique is the pattern of use. Hi, Laura, welcome. The pattern of use, that's unique to you. Your body actually decides, is this week on point 3 or is it on point 7? Is this week for you on 2 or 10? We don't guess. We're not making it up. Your body decides which acupoint is working. What's unique about AccuWeight Loss is we've developed an algorithm, a mathematical formula that's tracking your physiology, and we put your statistics into the computer, and it tells us which acupoint is working for you today. So that's how we're able to do it with you both in the office, but also with online at home. And that's why we're able to service anyone, anywhere, anytime with accuracy, is the fact that we're using this algorithm to tell us where your acupoint is. So when somebody says, I skipped a week, I didn't actually do it this week, I was sick, it doesn't matter. One of the things that happens is acupoints change as a factor of time. They change every week. So whether or not you're using them, they are changing every week. So you always want to make sure that you're using an active acupressure point. And honestly, you'll get some level of appetite suppression on any point. You'll get a little bit. But the most important thing about this acupressure is what we just talked about with the noon to 6, right? We are preventing physiologic starvation mode. We are ensuring that your body will burn only fat without change to metabolism. That's critical. And if the acupressure beads are not on the correct acupoint, if it's not the working acupoint, we're not protecting your metabolism. And so that's where the problem comes in. So you always want to make sure that a calculation has been done. It will not be the same week to week, and they are able now within your AccuMember dashboard to calculate your own acupoint so that you can activate your package when you're ready. You don't have to wait for us. If it's on the weekend, you're able to do it when you're ready, which is great. It's really wonderful to have empowered all of you to take care of yourselves and lean on us more for support and less for calculations. So just like now, I'm on maintenance, I'm not on beads. I have an active point, and if I went and calculated, I'd know what it is. And this same time next week, it will be something different. It doesn't matter that I'm not using it. The body is always moving them. Again, the pattern of use is unique to you. I'll be honest, I don't totally know why it moves or why it's doing the pattern that it chooses for you, but I know that we've identified the patterns properly and the algorithm really works. And that's the most important thing, is we know we're able to take care of giving you those correct acupoints, having your beads put on in the right place, especially now with our acupoint finder. We took all the guesswork out and made this really simple to do at home. And that's just so exciting for us that we can help more of you with less fear of doing it wrong. And that's really big. But again, having beads doesn't necessarily mean you have an active plan. But if if you did purchase something in the past that you haven't used, reach out to us. If it was not a discounted plan, you might be able to reactivate your package. We always stand by what we do. And we're here for you, right? That's what we're here for, is to help you guys on the path to health, not only to lose the weight, but let's talk about stabilizing the weight. So I saw another comment. I didn't get to read all the responses, but right before I came online, I saw that somebody posted a note on the secret group that she was really nervous about transition stabilization, and she was looking for some advice about that. So from experience, both number one with my own transition stabilization, but also in years of working with all of you, what I can say is, number one, it is healthy to be fearful about phase two, but not deer caught in the headlights fear, but a healthy fear. You've done all this work and you've lost the weight, and it is natural to be nervous about gaining it back. After all, you've been dieting, so many of you have been dieting all your life, and you've been doing the yo-yo game, right? You lose the weight, yo-yo back, try another diet, and that whole yo-yo, you don't want that to happen again now, and we don't want that either. And the great news is it doesn't have to. But our phase two stabilization transition is so crucial to the long-term success of maintenance. So a couple of things in terms of just understanding it. And I will say one of the hardest things is the patience that has to go with it, because it takes time, and you've just invested time in the weight loss, and now we're telling you take some more time for stabilization. But it's really, really, really important. So first thing is, let's talk about the weight set point. Again, we've got that little thermostat in our brain, right? That little thermostat that tells us how much we're supposed to weigh. And as a factor of time while we've been losing weight, that's been coming down. So we're lowering that weight set point. I love using the analogy of a wet sidewalk. So pretend that outside they just laid a new sidewalk and they put up all the boundaries around it, and somebody starts walking on it. Well, if you walk on the sidewalk too soon, you've just destroyed the cement, and very likely they're going to have to redo the work. Well, same thing. If you start walking on that weight set point too soon, you're going to start gaining weight, and you're going to have to redo the work. We don't want that to happen. So what do we need to do? Just like a sidewalk that's just been laid out and the cement is wet, we need to give that cement time to set. We need the weight set point to have time to set. But just like a sidewalk, if you give that cement adequate time to set, you can walk all over it. Thousands of people, right, are walking all over it. No harm done. So when the weight set point has been set, now we can eat sensibly, normally, listening to our body. Stop when our body says we've had enough, but we can eat. We can, quote unquote, walk all over it. We're okay, just like a sidewalk. But the key is letting it set. And just like a sidewalk, do you ever notice sometimes sidewalks get little cracks? And if they're ignored, the cracks get bigger, it rains, it freezes, and before you know it, you've got a giant pothole. And what do they have to do? They got to replace at least one section of that sidewalk. Well, that's what happens if you start to gain a little weight, right? You go on a vacation, you had a weekend blowout, something happens, and the scale jumps up. It's like a little crack in your sidewalk. And if you ignore it, that crack is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Now you got to replace it, right? You got to diet again. So we don't want to go there. So what are we going to do? You see the little crack in the sidewalk. You come over with some wet cement. You fill in the crack. You let it dry. It's as if it never happened. So the same thing when you're ready for maintenance and you notice a little crack again. Went on vacation, had a blowout weekend. For whatever reason, I was not just indulging, I was overindulging, and my scale went up a little. You do a little maintenance work, a day or two. At worst, a week. Like I tell people all the time, I'm Jewish, I love Passover. Mouth loves matzah. Belly hates matzah. But I have a choice. I can avoid the matzah all of Passover, or I can take 8 days and enjoy, which is what I usually choose to do. And then my abdomen looks like I'm growing a baby by the end of it, and that's just because my body doesn't like matzah, but my mouth does, so I enjoy. And then my choice is, how do I deal with it? I do a week after Passover. My body recovers, the detox helps my abdomen, I feel re-energized, I feel better, and I go on with normal life. So cause and effect. I know I'm going to indulge in something my body doesn't like for a week, and then I'll do a week. Boom, a week of enjoyment, a week of sensibility, and back to normal life. So my weight set point for years is keeping me where I am because I fill in the cracks when they need it. So what does transition stabilization look like? Because we just talked about why. But what does it look like? Because again, what's so scary about it is we don't know, right? If you don't know, it's a little scary. Okay. Well, what's going to happen is 3 really important things. Number 1, over a minimum of 4 weeks, and very often this goes on longer than 4 weeks, we are going to slowly reintroduce other foods back to your diet. So again, temporarily during weight loss, you were following the plan. But now we got to take you back to regular lifestyle eating. And we're going to do that over time, right? Just like we introduce food to a baby's diet, what we talked about is the core ingredients in our plan, right? Whole milk, yogurt, fruits, and vegetables, baby's diet. So we're going to do the same kind of thing we do with a baby. Although your digestive system is already developed, so we don't have to go as slowly. But when you're introducing food to a baby's diet, you do one food at a time. You give it a few days of diet with the new foods. And once you see how the body either reacts or responds, you add something else. Same kind of thing. We're going to introduce a few new foods each week. We're going to see how your body reacts or responds. And then we'll move forward with that and with that information. The first week is the same for everybody. But after that, it's custom tailored to you. I joke we play our version of Deal or No Deal. Say, what do you miss eating? Okay, let's add that back this week. And depending on what it is, or depending how your body's reacting or responding to foods up until then, we'll talk about maybe we only introduce it once this week. Or maybe it's just added as an open item on your menu so that your menu keeps expanding. We don't eat everything on the menu when we go to a restaurant. We pick. But it's great to have choices, right? So what are we going to be doing? Each week, we're going to be expanding your menu choices until we get to the end of stabilization phase 2, when everything is back on your menu and your scale is stable. When that happens, that everything is back on the menu and your scale is stable, we graduate you to phase 3 and you're ready for maintenance. So that's number 1, is that custom tailoring with you. We're going to rebuild your relationship with food and rebuild your diet. That's what maintenance looks like, is what you want to eat. We're just along the way helping you figure out what are serving sizes, how frequently can you have this, what is your body's tolerance for each of the foods. Like I told you, I love matzah at Passover, but my body doesn't. But learning that is empowering. Then it's my choice. If I know my body doesn't have a tolerance for something, it's my choice what to do with that information. But we help you with that. Number 2 is we're going to work on eating habits. Again, during the weight loss phase, we took away a lot of your foods, and some of your old habits may not appear just because the food got taken away. But as we bring the food back, for many people, or certain foods that are their Achilles heel, we're going to work together on putting new tools around those, right? We're not going to look to break old habits, but we're going to recognize old habits and where they're not necessarily good habits that serve us. We're going to start to work together to create new behaviors that will form new habits, that are new improved habits and give you the opportunity to reset your relationship with food so that you can enjoy the things that you want, again, with new tools to help you stay sensible. So again, we're reintroducing food back to your diet, and we're working on better behaviors and habits around our food and resetting our relationship with food. Last but not least, and I kind of touched on that is that we're identifying food sensitivities. Many of us do have food sensitivities we're not aware of, or we're aware, but we're not aware of specifically what triggers something within us. And we're going to help you by slowly reintroducing food. We're isolating foods. We're going to be able to identify any food sensitivities you might have. And again, if you have an allergy, you know by now. But food sensitivities, again, like I had really understood that my time during Passover, my abdomen swelling significantly was actually specifically the matzah and not something else, right? It wasn't eating other foods. I do tend to eat a little more. The family might have some more red meat than usual, and sometimes I'm eating other foods that I'm not used to. I still eat a lot of salads and fruit and other healthy things during the holidays, but I might indulge a little more. I never knew that it was the matzah that was triggering it, but it's really empowering to know that. We have a couple clients who found out that they're sensitive to poultry. A client who thought she had a sensitivity to sugar, but it turns out she was walking around dehydrated. By being able to isolate these things and work through it together, we learn a lot. And knowledge is power, right? If you know, for example, I didn't have this issue when I first graduated from AccuWeight, so let's forget the matzah for a minute. Now that I'm in menopause, I'm more sensitive to bread. I'm more sensitive to bread. And typically within an hour, my abdomen will swell a little when I eat bread. Now, I love bread. Do I sound like Oprah? I love bread. I do. I love bread, but I don't eat it all the time. And I now get to pick and choose when, why, and whether or not it's good enough. Like now, if it's bad bread, I can't be bothered. But if I'm in a restaurant and it's really good, I'm going to indulge. But if I know I've got an event Saturday night and I'm going to be wearing a specific dress and I want to look my best, probably 3 to 5 days before that event, I am not going to touch bread because I know it will make my abdomen swell. And by Saturday night, I'm not going to look as good as I'd like. So it's really empowering to understand my food sensitivities, right? Because it lets me choose when and how. I don't want to give it up altogether because that would be deprivation. And I'm not allergic and I don't want deprivation. But I also am empowered to choose when. And that's a really big deal. That part is the really big deal. I think I've now touched on all of the questions that had gotten posed to us in the past couple of days. So I'm going to say thank you again for joining us this evening. I hope all is well. Across everywhere seems to be cooler than usual, so I'm going to say keep warm. A lot of great warm recipes to enjoy. So even just that cup of hot water instead of cold water to keep you hydrated. I'm going to go probably have a mug of hot water right now. And I'm just going to say again, thank you for joining us. Keep those questions coming and keep on that path to health. I'm Barbara Schwartz, and I'll look forward to seeing you again next Monday. Have a good night.